how it will help eliminate such, such acts that are not, complementary to us as a people. But the fact remains that don't look at it from the point of view of the Nigerian Railway Corporation alone. Look at it as permeating every sector of the Nigerian society. Is it in sports? Is it in education? Is it in security? Is it in just name it? Just name it. But unless and until we all determine that, look, if we don't take action against this act, it will imperil all of us. Then I think we'll continue on this part. But I know for sure that as Nigerians, because I'm a Nigerian and you are a Nigerian, I know the values with which we were brought up. And those are values we want to, bequeath to children coming behind us, that look, there's no two ways to prosperity in life. It is by hard work. In Nigeria today, you see a woman with a child on her back, she's in front of a lottery shop. You don't see those things in the 70s and the 80s. I was one when I grew up in the 90s. A young man wakes up and is riding a car. It's a boy who is in university. You saw the video of a woman whose son was in university and he came home with a Toyota car. And the mother said, no, you can't afford this car. You are still in school. What type of work are you? Take this car out of my compound. That was the value in those days that we were born into. And those are the values. But, we live in a society today in which the young ones are also, we can also say that the young ones are product of poor parenting, lack of mentorship. Because as I speak to you, I grew up looking at elders that I wanted to be like. Elders who have cut their teeth, through hard work, through diligence, through honesty, and not through yahoo or through fraud.
Thank you so much, Comrade Ekujumi. This is one of the reasons why I believe PLIDE actually we love bringing you on as much as possible, because it's in this day and age when morality is actually like past tense to many people, and in fact when you emphasize morality too much, it's like you're even offending certain people, and they will be quick to remind you that it's not like look, like time has moved on. It's like you can't be comparing nowadays to those days, as if we're all supposed to live a debased life. So I just want to thank you for touching on that, and we're hoping that the government would actually solve that problem as fast as possible, because if Lagos could get it right with the cowrie system, and it's even though all of us know that there will be people who are trying their best to try to circumvent that process, but at least to a large extent we know the cowrie system, and there's nowhere in the world as well, even when you go to the Western world, people jump over ticket barriers and some other things. People find a way to dodge having to pay for fares, but at least to a very large extent that should be minimized, and we're hoping that so that the Nigerian Railway Corporation does not die a sudden death. And as well, a lot of those officials, government should not just close its eyes and allow them to continue to give Nigeria a bad name. It always starts from somewhere, and that's why all of a sudden the Nigeria police force, like we were talking about the other time, now we suddenly know that there's some people that are actually special constabulary, that they're not part. The Nigeria police force is now suddenly disowning, those crooks who were trying to take a bribe from the person, from the European who are cycled all the way through Nigeria and going to, all of a sudden they knew that embarrassment was so great, and they started telling Nigerians that there is a special constabulary. Those people are actually not policemen. Because of our time, let's move on. Let's look. You've already told us about your take. You've already given us your take about the 7 months of the Tinubu administration, how far it has come, and we appreciate that. Now, let's look at its key appointments. Looking at those the president has chosen to help him to carry forward the renewed hope agenda. Automatically, during the week, last week, the week before and last week, a new searchlight became beamed on the sort of characters Is it that the president did not do due diligence, or is it that is it a case of out of every 12 there will be a Judas, or is it that, when we talk about the catchment group, maybe there is even the catchment group is even so bad that the president should not bother about doing due diligence because all of us are the same? Or is it that he's looking in the wrong place? Now, let's analyze his appointments. Does he have the round pegs and the round holes? Talking about the finance, defense, the key areas of the key priority areas, works, housing, youth development, everything. For example, people have been asking, where is the Minister for Power? What happened to El Rufai? Obviously, you will know more than many of us. You're closer to them, you know certain secrets that some of us do not know. How because as many people would agree that El Rufai has a lot of baggage, religious baggage and so many other, but when it comes to, for the first time, a lot of people had hope that maybe we can finally crack this power issue. But all of a sudden, the man from Ibadan, when Clemens was giving, Chief Adelabu was actually giving that. Everybody's asking, where is the Minister for Power? And then, of course, you had Minister Beta Edu. What has happened? Suddenly, Minister Beta Edu, like PLIDE Transformational was talking about, PLIDE Transformational was actually on Friday when we had a mini live session. He was trying to help us analyze the part of Kogi where their international airport is. He was trying to describe it that it should be somewhere near Lokoja, not far from Okene, How did we, so looking at all these appointments, key appointments, what has he gotten it right? If he has not, what is the problem? Should we expect a lot from them, or do we think government has to actually start even thinking of a reshuffle right now, or Nigerians have to start demanding the resignation of ministers? How do you say things, sir?
Well, thank you very much. I'm a Yoruba man, and the Yorubas have this saying that it is the child that is in my, that a woman will tell you that it is the child that is in my stomach that I can vouch for. That even the one I'm putting on my back, I don't know what he or she is doing while I'm working. For every 12, it's not out of place to have a Judas. These are human beings. And when Mr. President, you must recognize that in forming his cabinet, under the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, is mandated by law to appoint ministers from the 33 states, including the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. And in doing that, we must recognize that Mr. President is not God. Man, like we started earlier on, the sin or evil deed is second nature of man. Like some people used to say that you cannot know the true character of a man unless you give him, unless he comes into wealth. So with regards to the appointments, we must recognize that those ministries are people by experts. Because you talk about the Ministry of Aviation, for example, you have the permanent secretaries and you have the directors for various sub-heads. You talk of security, same thing applies. You have the Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Naval Staff, DOC, Director of Training, Director of Information, So the appointments are well in order. The government itself has set up a benchmark for its ministers, that there will be periodic reviews, that any minister or any appointee who is not meeting up to standard will be eased out. It is for we, the Nigerian people ourselves, to take up our checkbook and look at the performances of Mr. President's aides, his appointees. How well are they doing with regards to the manifesto with which Mr. President has promised to change our lives for the better? And when we have found out that they are not doing well, it is our duty to cry out. You talked about power. As far as some of us are concerned, some of us are strong advocates for restructuring. So long as we have a centralized national grid, whereby immediately the grid collapses in Niger State, blackout that affects the man in Kano will affect in Lagos. It shouldn't be so. The national grid should be decentralized. Let every state, let every local government have their own grid. You remember just some few days ago in one of the northeast states, maybe Borno or so, bandits or terrorists went and brought down, they bombed this high tension cable and destroyed the transmission line in that area. So if we didn't have a power system in which there's little bit of decentralization, that havoc in that part of the country, the darkness that they were put into would have affected me living here in Lagos that has no business with banditry. So it is important for us at every point in time to look at our system of government. Our system of government, we must devolve powers. That is the only way we can get good results. You talked about, look at Lagos State, for example. The federal government has put in place the railway system. The Lagos State, because of the law under President Muhammadu Buhari that allows states to run their own railway. Before President Muhammadu Buhari, the railway as a means of transportation was on the exclusive list. Only the federal government can have a railway. No state can have it. But under President Muhammadu Buhari, we now have states having rail line, just like we started with, it started in Abuja, then we have it in Lagos. We have the blue rail line, commuting passengers from Marina CMS to Maitu in Amuwo Odofi. We also had it in Abuja before it got truncated due to COVID-19. And when we returned back to work, we realized that all the cables and what have you to make the rail function in Abuja had been stolen by vandals. So the appointees of Mr. President, there's no doubt that in the course of this journey, just like a man, in the Bible, we are told that the kingdom of God can be compared to a farmer, who going in planting. Some of his crops will fall on good land and bring forth good yield. Some will fall on thorns, and thorns will choke them. So in this trajectory of our democratic, journey, it is not out of place that some people will be found wanting. You can't know what is in anybody's mind. You can only hazard a guess. But when you apportion somebody with responsibility, and he fails to do it, or he does it shabbily, or he abuses public trust, then you know that, oh, this is the kind of person this is. For you talk about the Beta Edu, what she has done, as far as some of us are concerned, even though we want to keep our peace until the investigative committee by Mr. President comes out, is that what she has done is totally at variance with the Public Act. How can you transfer public money into a private account? I've never had it before. So what we are saying here is that there are appointees that are well in order, because the appointees have to come from the 36 states and including Abuja FCT. But in the performance or in the exercise of their function, they are there at the BS of Mr. President. Mr. President is the one we have elected. It is our responsibility to hold them and Mr. President accountable, to watch their every step. You can see that when the Beta Edu case came up and people started talking about it, the government did the needful immediately. They had to suspend her. And that is what any responsible government should do. That, come on, you have stain on your hands. You have to take a back seat. We are going to investigate it. We don't want to rush based on what we are seeing now. We'll investigate and we'll come out with our findings, because in the course of the investigation, even she herself will be invited to come and answer questions. That is how it is done in any responsible and civilized, society. So the appointees of Mr. President, they are well within his powers to appoint, because that is what the law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria stipulates. And in appointing them, there are certain criteria that have to be met. And if he has not violated those criteria, the next line of action for Nigerians is to look at the performance of the ministers as time goes on, and be able to speak on it. As public affairs analysts, as civil society activists, when we see some of these things, it is our duty to ask questions. Societies that have made progress are societies in which people have asked questions. And like some of us always clamor on public engagement, we tell people, good problem. But whoever is wearing the shoe, know where it pinches. And like the Yobas will say that, anybody tari abadake. So if the shoe is pinching you somewhere and you keep quiet, that is your cup of tea. But for me, wherever the shoe is pinching me, or people cry to me that the shoe is pinching me on this side, I will help them, to escalate, the issue. So the appointment of Mr. President cannot know what is the demand of his appointees until, in the course of their engagement, maybe through assessment. Because just like a student who is in school, who undergo continuous assessment, who take examination at the end of first time or first session, I'm sure the government itself is setting such exams and such a continuous assessment for its appointees. And even before the Nigerian people come out to talk, they themselves will do the needful. But they can be rest assured that as Nigerians, we'll keep them on their toes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, Comrade. I know you already spoke about the power sector, which was one of our questions. Let me ask, as far as you know, where is the Minister for Power? Where is the Minister for Power? And is he doing anything apart from maybe a seminar or conference we had about a few weeks back? Is there anything going on in that sector, as far as you know, sir?
Well, in the past sector, if you have been following events in Nigeria, the innovation, the President Muhammadu Buhari, he has done quite a lot. And the sitting president has also carried over from where President Muhammadu Buhari stopped. You can see that even when Mr. President went to COP28, he engaged the German Chancellor on Nigeria's power sector. You recognize that the power reform, power engineering by President Muhammadu Buhari, he made it a presidential initiative. He was the one in charge himself. And in the course of that engagement, we lost, a patriot, that's former Chief of Staff, Abba Kyari, who contracted COVID-19 during, in the course of engagement to better our power situation. But as we speak, the government is engaging with the stakeholders. You recollect that the power sector has been privatized under the former President Goodluck Jonathan in 2012. That is why we have discos and we have bulk buyers. What's their name again? Yes. So, pardon?
Yeah, go on, sir.
We have private investors in the power sector.
You have the Gencos, and the discos. Yeah,
the Gencos and the discos, the generating companies and the distribution. The generating companies are the Gencos, while the distribution companies are the discos. And as we speak, the former government of President Muhammadu Buhari also put in place a law that allowed states to generate and distribute now. So the power sector has been widened to allow more players to come in. And we are monitoring developments because the discos wanted to increase their tariffs just sometime last year. But the government, in view of the economic realities of the Nigerian people, has decided that whatever needs to keep the power sector running, the government will do, right, instead of adding to the pains of Nigerians. That is where we are for now. But as Nigerians who are desirous, and if you listen to Mr. President, even his New Year broadcast to Nigerians, he made it very clear that no nation can make industrial progress without power. And one is very optimistic that the government is doing, even though we don't hear the minister, like you have rightly said. A lot of people have come out to say we have not had the minister speak. We don't know what he's doing for now, but the captain of the ship has come out to identify that, look, this is one area that we recognize that power is life. Without power, life will come to a halt. So we expect that maybe the man is working behind the scene, reporting directly to his principal. And as the days go by, we'll continue to monitor developments in that sector. And whatever ideas we have to better the situation for the good of the Nigerian people, we will not fail to add our voice to it.
Thank you so much, Comrade Ekujumi. I'm really loving this. I want our people to be able to ask you questions. So I'm just going to keep the remaining segments very brief, just so that we finish on time and people can still ask you questions. Now, talking about the key policy decisions of the government, of course, we, in the area of the economy, in the area of security, in the area of agriculture, of course, tied to the economy, in the area of anti-corruption and quite a lot of other things, the flagship policies of the government, and vis-a-vis the serious economic pain in the country. I was speaking with someone during the weekend. They said, you know what, if you're sick right now in Nigeria, forget it, because buying medicines is actually like digging for gold, in dark caves, that they're so expensive now, especially the imported variant. And people are actually struggling to actually earn a living. But of course, we know that I for one, I'm one of those who believe so much we could no longer sustain that fuel subsidy regime as well as the forex regime, But then, even all the best analysts in the world, from foreign banks, Morgan Chase, quite a lot of all the international financial organizations actually said by December 2023, the expectation is that the foreign exchange, for example, will come to about 750, and things will start to stabilize. But it does appear that in Nigeria, quite a lot of things, they fight the law of gravity. When things go up, they never come down. And we believe, we've heard this thing again and again, that the saboteurs within the system. I always ask the question, if government keeps saying saboteurs within the system, it's God. Are they beyond and above government? How can government not undo that? So there's quite a lot of pain out there. Is there hope behind the dark clouds? Is there something that the citizens can hope for, that, my cousins in the village, your own cousins in the village, everybody's cousins in the village, those of us who, our friends, our younger ones, our siblings, our aged parents, everybody wants just a comfortable life, a better life. I believe that the restructuring of the economy will eventually, right the wrongs of past decades and actually set us on the path of economic growth. And personally, I always say to people, as it's not giving false hope, but it's just me trying to analyze that. I do remember going to primary school and so on, and those who used to come and sell buns and pop up to us in those days with those bicycles that have those square heads, like basket storages, where Ghanaians in those days, they always came during a long time to sell pop, to sell buns, and all of a sudden the Ghana must go thing came. Ghana actually went, like people say Ghana must go, Ghana went. But Ghana restructured their country in such a way that, of course, they're having quite a lot of economic issues now, but Ghana restructured their country in such a way that Nigerians started going, and then, of course, they started, Nigeria must go. So Is there any hope behind the dark clouds?
Absolutely, there's hope. Hope is the milk of human living. As we are here today is because we had hope. Talking about where you started from, you talked about the cost of pharmaceuticals. That is an absolute fact. The reality of the Nigerian situation today is that, like I told you, like we started, the cost of living, is on the high side. And Nigerians are complaining, which is natural for man. You can't, like we always say, you can't beat a man and expect him not to cry. That would be human of you. So the reality of our situation today is that because of our economic realities, we are passing through hard times. But the economic decisions that are being taken by government are decisions that we ourselves are optimistic that they will bear fruits in the long run. As we speak, we're talking about the exchange rate. A major chunk of our forex is allocated to importation of fuel. As we speak, Dangote Refinery has collected the 6th tranche and is about to begin production. The the Port Harcourt Refinery, a part of it has been completed. By the time we start local production of refined petroleum products, the large chunk of our forex that goes into importation of fuel, PMS, will drastically reduce. And once the pressure on our forex goes down, then the value of the naira will show up. And you talk about power, for example. If we're able to get power right, which we are optimistic we are going to do because it's not rocket science, we are starting to see the improvements in power in most parts of the country. And the improvements in power is because government is doing the right thing. And what is the right thing? Bringing in the necessary infrastructure for power. And we must also make it known to our people. Power does not generate itself. Power is generated from a system that has to be maintained. When you maintain when you maintain the system and put in place the right policy, a lot of our people who are complaining about power today are people who will bypass. The government has to put in place laws to guide both the investors in power as well as the consumers, such that no one of these two parties will exploit or extort the other. It is important to build trust in the system so that we all know that we all have a level playing field. And when we know that we have a level playing field in which we can hold ourselves accountable, then we'll all be the better for it. We must not delude ourselves that times are tough. But like they say, tough times don't last. Tough people do. Times are tough. You spoke about Ghana. In Nigeria today, we are buying fuel for 600, 610, 620. In Ghana, even when we're buying fuel for 193 naira per liter, they were buying fuel for 1,000 naira. We are not on the same level with Ghana. The economic reality in Ghana is different from Nigeria because, Nigeria is a country that has more population than Ghana. The infrastructure in Nigeria is more overstretched. The resources that we have not managed it well in the past. But going forward, can we afford to allow mismanagement and continue to complain? Absolutely not. We are going to ask for better and proper management of our resources. And we as a people, we must also be ready to play our own part. It is not enough for me to have a house whereby there are 10 bulbs in my house. I now go ahead to put my wire to the public power supply, ensuring that whatever I'm consuming in my house is not reflected, in my meter reading. In that way, I'm shortchanging the system and killing the public power supply system. Tomorrow, when the transformer gets burnt, the resources to put it in place will be gotten from some people. It means, I've not played my part as a patriotic and, sincere citizen. So, as much as we want to hold government accountable at all levels. Because when we talk about government in Nigeria, people tend to look at government as only those in Abuja, the federal government, as if the state government as well as the local government only exist on paper. Absolutely not. Those are, those are tiers of government that are also saddled with responsibility to make lives better, just like the federal government. We talked about the Blue Ray Line in Lagos, for example. It's a project that was put in place by the Lagos State government to make life better for the people of Lagos. We commissioned about 4 bridges in Lagos to ease transportation of people to and fro whenever they are going to work or businesses or wherever they are on the road. So it is about making life, livable for the citizens, wherever they may be. So we have this hope that our tomorrow will be better than our yesterday. Today, things are tough, but we are prepared with sincerity of purpose, with our eyes on the ball to hold government accountable, and with our preparedness to play our part. We are optimistic that tomorrow will be better.
Thank you so much, Comrade. I really, really want to appreciate you. It's look, there's always that temptation whenever you're with us to just go on and on and on and on and on. But I'm always mindful that you're a very busy man yourself, and we do not take for granted the fact that whenever you have called us, whenever we have called you, you've always been there to answer our call. We really appreciate you, sir. Now, because of the time, I'm going to allow questions from members of the panel for tonight. We've got incidentally, we put just a few senior members of the House on the panel for tonight. And so we're going to give them room to just their comments and their questions. So we start with PLIDE Shola Fayemi. We're starting with him. And then, of course, we'll take yours. And then we go to PLIDE Lukman, and just a few, maybe like two questions or comments, because I still have 1 or 2 questions I need to ask you. So PLIDE Shalafayemi, let's quickly have your take on this very, very quickly.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Convener. I want to appreciate Comrade Ekujumi for coming to this program and this event again this evening, and most especially the way he projected his insight and opinion about governance in Nigeria. As for me, I just want to ask him, 1 or 2 fundamental questions for real. The way he said the governance structure, how things are expected to be run, that is the ideal way of getting things right in our country. But nevertheless, I just want to ask him, in his own opinion, because nobody can shy away from that fact that the hardship has been biting very harder. Our citizens currently are not happy with the way things are going in the country. But some of us and some other people are opinion that it's too early to judge the government. But nevertheless, I just want to ask him that, Comrade, in your own perspective, what should be the priority and the key focus of government in this new year? And how well do you think Mr. President should get things right in restoring hope to the masses?
The fact remains, and it's one truth we cannot run away from, that we're all going through economic, hard times. That is a fact. Nobody can, say 2 things or try and hide that under any, slogan. But looking at the year 2024, like you have rightly said, I have this line of thought that government is an octopus. There's no aspect of our lives that government should, put in abeyance for the other. For example, if you ask me, one of the greatest threats to our existence today is the issue of food security. The cost of living, majorly from the cost of from the price of food, is on the outside. So one expects that in this year, the policies or ideas that government has put in place to ensure that the price of food, becomes bearable for the average man on the street. I believe strongly, like you and I know very well, that even if we plant today, it will not germinate today. Now it might take maybe the next 3 months. But I expect that the area of food security is one area that government needs to tackle frontally. And in talking about food security, don't forget the issue of national security is also tied to food security. The issue of climate change is tied to food security. Because you recollect that some months back, I think November, the government of Nigeria launched the dry farming season. On that day of dry farming season launch, there was heavy downpour. That is as a result of climate change. So whatever needs to be done to make food accessible and affordable, government must not shy away from it. Whatever it takes, government must do it. Then you're talking about basic infrastructure, where the tough times you are passing through is not immune to Nigeria alone. It's a global threat, and whatever we can do locally to make things better, I think as a government, I'm sure the government will not run away from it. But most importantly, is that the issue of security of life and property is paramount. Government must invest heavily in it. And when I'm talking about security of life and property, I'm not talking about buying guns, ammunitions, fighter jets for security agencies alone. I'm talking about empowerment of the people. The people must have skill. If the people don't have skill, how will they be marketable for employment? Just today, when I was taking a walk, let me also digress just a minute, Mr. Convener, sir.
Yes, sir.
Just this morning, when I was taking a walk, I do my normal early morning walk. I saw that in most of our streets, you have lawns, you have bars, you have hotels, and what have you. And you know what struck me about all those businesses that people are putting up? The manpower to maintain those places, to run them. We don't have it. This is one country in the world I can tell you for free. If you open a pure water factory today, excuse me once again, if you open a pure water factory and you are not there, I can bet you if you employ 1 million people, they will run the place aground within 30 minutes. I've never seen there are people with this attitude. Our attitude as a people is terrible. You cannot have a business and hand it over to people to run on your behalf and go and do other things. I'm a living witness to it. I had a cafe at a point in time in the life of this country. In my cafe, while I was present in the cafe, we were making sales. Lo and behold, if I leave my cafe to go and attend to other things, whatever sales I have made, by the time I come back, they'll tell me we didn't make any sales. And I can continue to use my resources to run the place. When I became fed up, I told everybody to go.
Oh my God.
Then they started calling me that, "Okay, please, we have changed. Open the place again." A lot of businesses, that is what is happening. I said, "No, you can't kill me." I ran the place for about 9 months on charity. Just because I had 3 boys that I employed. And I was looking at it that if I close down this place, these boys could go and become armed robbers tomorrow because they don't have a job. So we also need government. This is one area, in addition to what you have asked for, the people's attitude to life. Government has to address it through a National Orientation Agency. Our attitude to life is terrible. You cannot. My brother that called, let me ask you, can you mention 2 of your friends that if you have 100,000 in your pocket today, that can run to you that, my brother, borrow me 20,000 out of that money. By next week, I'll give you, and they will fulfill that promise. Can you mention 2? So our people attitude is totally anti-human. If you have a business today, if you are not there, that company that we have, the UBA. The owners are not there now. But before you can get to that level, you start from somewhere small. But in your small corner that you want to start, our people want to destroy you. So the attitude of our people, the values, our society is a society that has lost its values totally. Let us know. The convener just said it. If you are talking about morals, they will tell you in Amora we go chop. I work with people. I'll tell you for free. A lot of times when money is involved, people will tell you, let us share the money, leave the work. I'll say, oh my God. What happens to the job? I'm the one that collected the job and my name is on it. No way. Until I finish this job, nobody's getting a kobo. Do you know that because of that, I became enemy number one? That is a bad man. He doesn't want us to chop. Maybe you chop after you have worked. Must you chop before you work?
Wow.
So that's where I want to stop for now.
Wow. Thank you so much, Comrade. You've touched on quite a lot of deep things there. And the one statement you made there that really caught me said the attitude of many of our people actually anti-human. And I've analyzed this on one of the fora I belong to before that. One of the reasons why we have low employment rates in Nigeria is because, see, in many nations, it's actually the informal sector, they actually create a lot of jobs. But why would let's say, for example, a certain Comrade Johnson who is abroad, who wants to set up an hotel in Nigeria, and then he knows that, and he sets it up, and the first time he sets it up, within 3 months, the whole place is wrecked, and he has to go, and he actually set it up on borrowed funds, and he employed 20 people. And then when you wreck the business, the man goes away, the 20 people go back into they're out of jobs. And those 20 people are providing for families. And maybe the man was test running the market. So if that bar, if it works well, I'm going to
open other branches.
Yes. And so people are even so scared to put their finances into that market because they're just frightened, like you said, Comrade, if you're not there, they will wreck the business for you. And I hope that our people, we can start having a change of attitude, knowing that we actually bear the brunt of all these very bad attitudes ourselves. Thank you so much for pointing out that, sir. So I'm going to call just in order in which they actually came into the meeting. PLIDE Taiwo, PLIDE Okunuga, let's just quickly have your contribution to this. And then we take one from PLIDE Lukman, and then we'll call it a night. We really need to run fast. PLIDE Okunuga, you may unmute yourself.
Good evening again, my webinar tonight.
Good evening.
I carefully listened to the submission of our guest speaker. Honestly speaking, he made beautiful submissions. However, you see, the caveat of the theme for tonight is there any hope behind the dark clouds? And my answer is, it depends on which side you are and where you are getting your information from. It depends. It depends on which. Yeah, it depends on which side you are and what information you have at your disposal. I seriously feel that the NOA should have
National Retention Agency.
Yeah, it should have a lot of work to do. We cannot continue to blame Nigerians, and we cannot continue to trade in blame games. Followers will continue to be followers, and leaders will continue to be leaders. As much as possible, I understand that the Nigerian problems are not peculiar all over the world. Every part of the world has issues. But when we have a point person who has the will to at least put certain problems to end, then it will be better for the overall good of the people. I have seen in Tinubu's administration, regardless of the economic quagmire, the economic crisis, I've seen certain interventions that would, in the long run, be meaningful to Nigeria. I just saw, a few days back, the intervention he made to the education sector. The last intervention that we had across the university, colleges, and polytechnic it stood about 320 billion naira. As of the last intervention he made, I saw him put about 1.9 trillion naira to universities alone, and then about 1.7 trillion naira to polytechnics, and then about 1.3 trillion naira to colleges as intervention from government for the year 2024. See, all of these things will work for good, maybe in due time, but Nigerians are sensitive, and it's difficult to tell a man who is hungry to continue to be patient, or attributing blames of his hunger, on him, when in the real sense, there's no certain direction that is positive from government. So I feel with time, things may come up as expected, but Nigeria will not just get, turned positive overnight, because we have a system that has many years of protracted struggles and failure, cannot just be overturned, by one person overnight. It will not take magic. Tinubu has taken his ground on subsidy, and he has said he's not going back. So if these are the consequences that Nigerians will feel, by and large, I think we can only continue to hope for better days ahead. And as much as possible also to continue to ask the government to continue to give, through palliatives, through welfare packages, to people, directly to the doorstep of people. It's unfortunate that all these interventions on economic support will have worked fine if Nigeria has a data that can really advantage of people who are poor, what percent is on the average, what percent lot. But not as much as all these things are not on ground, we continue to patch and just support the government in any way best possible. So let me conclude by saying that the appears blur, but then possibly with patience and perseverance, there can be something at the end of the tunnel. A lot of people will die in the course. Maybe the newborn will be the ones who will benefit. Maybe the ones still in heaven will be the ones who will enjoy the end of the tunnel we are talking about. It's a lot of drama, and I just want to, after a time, I stopped trading in blame games, because really, and I have not been the cause of the problem of Nigeria, and as well as any other person could talk about. Of course, there are people whose life and endeavors, are all within the are all on, like the guest speaker has said, are just not unfair, But then let's just hope and continue to pray for the best of Nigeria to come. Maybe not now, maybe in the future. God bless you. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, PLIDE Okonoga. Thank you so much. I'm just going to take PLIDE Ayole as well, so that Comrade will just respond to everything. And then after that, we'll just have the vote of thanks and we close the session. So PLIDE Lukman, let's just quickly have your take on this. Very, very quickly, sir.
Yeah. Good evening, my conveners. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening, our girls, sir. Sincerely, you've done well tonight. You really analyzed the whole entire Nigeria issue. Let me put it that way. But there's something that I want to ask. I discovered that when government are making policies, both at state and federal level, I don't know if it is intentional or not, but I discovered they always create loopholes whenever they want, whenever they are planning to do one or two things for the people.
Oh my God.
Let's take for an example. We talk about the palliatives during festive period. How can federal government give 100 million naira each to every house of rep for palliative without informing the citizen that yes, so we are giving us such amount? So it's a loophole for them to embezzle the money, and we understand ourselves. We know the kind of people we are. The same thing to concerning the intervention fund for civil servants, which you mentioned also, because I could remember vividly. I have a friend at the federal level telling me that since September they collected the fund once, and even at state level the same thing. So why is it intentional? And although the Tinubu government, I won't deny the fact that they are trying to take Nigeria on the right path. But what if at the end of the day our refinery started working, everything is now moving smoothly? Did they not embezzle the same money again? Are we not going to find ourselves in this same suffering that we are now if they continue in this manner? Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, PLIDE Lukman. I really appreciate you. So over to you, Comrade, sir.
PLIDE Okunuga and PLIDE Lukman, I thank you very much. Your comments has renewed my confidence that we have quite a number of Nigerians who still believe in this country, and that we are all on the same page that Nigeria must get better. The loophole you talked about, please let me correct Comrade PLIDE Lukman. They didn't give them 100 million naira cash. They gave them 100 million naira worth of bags of rice. They gave them bags of rice. And like you have rightly pointed out, if not for some of the legislators that came out publicly to announce it, I wonder the policy direction why the federal government didn't make it public, so that we'll be able to monitor this thing at our various constituencies. And PLIDE Lukman, for me, unfortunately, you said we know this. The politicians are also. It's because they are the ones, there have been people who have been there yesterday and are not there again today. So I won't join you to say we know them. They are Nigerians. They are brothers, they are sisters, they are family members. Whatever conduct or attitude they are exhibiting is a reflection of our homes, how they've been brought up. So for me, I believe strongly that the economic hard times we are going through is something that will get over. But like PLIDE Lukman rightly said, yesterday it was President Goodluck Jonathan. The day before it was President Goodluck Jonathan. Yesterday it was President Buhari. Today is President Tinubu. The public treasury, let us get it clear this night, belongs to all of us. Government will come and go. The Nigerian people will remain. If government is conducting its business and we behave that it doesn't concern us, if they embezzle our money, it will concern us because we are the ones that will bear the brunt. So our duty as citizens is that when government is taking any policy or government is backing on any project, it's for us to interrogate. Like I said earlier, societies that have made progress are societies in which people ask questions. Where should they pay me? Not being they pay you. And you don't say you get size. Maybe my own pain are for two. Your own could be at the heel. So, like I always tell our people, speak out. Let the world know where your problem is. Like we always say, a problem shared is a problem solved. people should not keep quiet when things are not well with them or when they see things going on, or say because it doesn't concern me. If it doesn't concern you today, who knows tomorrow? So my admonition is that I thank this forum for this opportunity. I'm always very happy to be in your midst. I've told the convener severally that I want to be part of other guests you want to bring in, such that I also benefit. And for PLIDE, look, come on, please, those in government, and for all of us listening or watching or listening, those in government don't have monopoly of knowledge how to run the society. That is why democracy, like I always tell people, it's a 24 hours affair between the government and the governed. A lot of our people believe that their democratic rights begins and ends on the day of elections. No. In the life of that administration, 24/7, follow trends of events, ask questions, raise your voices. Thank God we have the social media. We can, aggregate opinions. In my community where I live, we have a CDA WhatsApp platform. If we see anything, we raise it there. We all rise up to address it. So God has helped us that some people, through their own ideas, have been able to bring us closer at the press of a button. So it is our responsibility that as we trudge on with this new administration, which we are hopeful, man can only hope. God, man proposes, God disposes. We have seen the economic policies of the government. We know that things are tough. It's a reality that things are tough, but we are optimistic that things will get better, and things can only get better if we hold those who are saddled with managing our resources accountable. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Comrade. Before I call on our SecGen to actually give the vote of thanks, I just want to appreciate you again, sir. I want to commend you, and I want to say, please do not stop being a voice for the voiceless in Nigeria. I'm always so excited whenever I see you on the TVC, I see you on Channels TV and some other stations like that. I look, it's very easy to tell when someone actually comes around and feeds people with of BS, not to use bad language, to just feeds them with empty rhetorics. But you also know when someone is deep, because you actually cannot give what you do not have. And, and for me, it excites me when I see you, and I want to commend you. I want to say thank you. You might not understand much of it. You might think, oh, well, maybe Nigerians don't appreciate you much, but I think many of us actually do. We watch. Many of us. There's a particular lawyer, SAN, who was in the struggle back then when many of us were in the university, and many of you were out, and we followed. In those good old days, and the lawyer suddenly turned out everyone that was accused of corruption in Nigeria, that was always the favorite lawyer. And I'm surprised Betta Edu has not gone for that same lawyer. But that lawyer actually, thinks, look, people can read it between the lines. It was that same lawyer, SAN, who said to us that even when Nigerians are voted, if Abuja people say no, that election has to be reconducted as soon until Abuja people say yes to anybody. And it's that same lawyer that I believe tens of millions. How many millions did the Supreme Court of Nigeria actually have to find that lawyer? It was the same lawyer that brought 40 million that brought the case to the Supreme Court to say, you know what, Chief Emeka Ihedioha, he should start his term as governor of Imo State. Things like that over time, they may go on for a while, but eventually it tells. And of course, we had our own Senator Shehu Sani as well. We looked up to him as well until he went onto the Senate and started becoming. It was part of delegations there and there as well. And some of us are not carried away by whatever we read on Twitter people like that nowadays, because when Senator Saraki was accused of corruption, he did not allow the system to work things out. He was one of those who would leave their legislative work and go to the CCB to the CCT, Code of Conduct Tribunal. Every time there was a session, there was a sitting, to go and offer support to an accused, rather than allow the system to actually try that person and declare them guilty or innocent. And so we're not carried away by what it's very easy to deceive a newer generation that do not know your antecedents. So I want to commend you on that, you might not feel too appreciated, but we know what you do and we appreciate you. Thank you so much. Let me call on our Secretary to give the vote of thanks, and then we close the session. Mr. Secretary.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Convener, for the coordination of today's activities and today's once again. We appreciate what you do for humanity, and we thank you most sincerely for what you do for PLIDE. We have to, at the same vein, deeply appreciate Comrade. Like I said, his clear-headedness on issues is top-notch. His type is completely rare in this current dispensation and in the crop of leaders that we have in our society. For someone to have consistently, held value and virtues, it's something that is rare. And we sincerely want to thank you, and we thank God for how far you've gone, and for you being consistently being a torchbearer and a clear leader of purpose for this generation, and even for the generations coming behind. Like the convener said, we always want you to be part of us because we have a drive to make Nigeria a better society. We cannot do it alone. We need like minds who can also, co-join and be a partner in this drive. So we sincerely want to thank you, and we appreciate you for coming to this program again this evening. And like you said, we collectively have hope that Nigeria will be better and can be better. But it takes two to tango. We also need to hold our leaders accountable because, like you said, leadership is a derivative of followership. So we cannot, both of them are concurrently running together. So we have to be awakened, and we have to be alive to our responsibility and hold our leaders accountable. So we want, on behalf of PLIDE and on membership and leadership of this organization, we want to thank you for coming to this program again this evening. We hope to see more of you. And like you told the convener, myself personally, I will always remind you, anytime we have a webinar and we want to invite other guests, we also want you to be part of that engagement going forward. Thank you so much, sir. We sincerely appreciate you. And to other leaders and our other audience who joined us on this program this evening, we appreciate you. We thank you for consistently staying glued to us and for being partners in progress to moving Nigeria forward. God bless everyone, and thank you.
Thank you. Bye for now. Have a wonderful week ahead.
Recording stop.